Hi, my name is Juliana. I am originally from Belarus, but I've lived in the UK for quite a few years now. While working with Crimson on getting into UCL, I think the two main parts they helped was the application strategy, so combining my personal statement and what scores I got in the admission test and my grades and deciding which unis I have the best chance of getting into. So I was working with my strategist, Abby, who was helping me figuring out where to apply so that I get into somewhere, essentially. Even though we do usually have a first choice, the goal is to get into some medical school because at the end of the day, you end up being a doctor, regardless of where you go. And the second part was a bit more detailed, so that was working on extracurriculars. So which parts can I improve a little bit? So this is when we did the online exhibition because that was extracurriculars. That was like reflecting on books and the different webinars that I've watched. So I got a lot of resources from that. UCAT and BMAT admission testing guidance. So for both, I think it's a lot of just like practice, but it was nice having the opportunity to come to someone and be like, oh, I don't know how this question works. Like, would you be able to explain this to me? Probably something that was the most useful was the interview practice. So I think I got like 20 hours of interview practicing, and I genuinely think that it made my application so much stronger because it was the ability of one-to-one 20 hours just speaking and them answering me questions, all sorts of types of questions that I might not even have thought about. So then when I got to the interview, there was nothing they could ask me that I wouldn't have already expected and answered before. So I think the expertise of the team at Crimson that I was working with is something that actually really surprised me from the very beginning because they all knew so much in their respective fields. One of the examples would be my strategist, Abby, who knew the very specifics of the different universities, and I didn't realize how different they were. So when we were trying to figure out which universities to apply to, she was so on it with saying like, yeah, this university doesn't look at this specific section of this admission test, but then they do really want you to showcase this specific quality in interviews. And I still don't know where she got this information from and how she knows all of this, but it made such a big difference with deciding where to apply because I maximized my chances and improved them so much. So that was one of the examples. All of the tutors for UCAT and BMAT and interviews were all medical students or doctors, so they all have gone through the process before. They all knew what to ask. They knew exactly what like the medical admission team in universities wanted to hear. So it wasn't just trying and hoping that at some point I will say something right. It was knowing exactly what to say and when and how, which really, really helped me. So I think one of my biggest pieces of advice with applying to any UK university, stay strategic and rational, because I think I don't just speak for myself when I say that a lot of people have this vision from the childhood of going to this specific university, whether that's because, like, I don't know, that's where their grandma went, or they've been once when they were 10 and they like the campus, and so they just have this emotional attachment to a specific university, and they end up working towards it and applying to it without really looking into what the application process is looking at, or what the course is actually like, or what the campus is like. A lot of my friends have ended up in places where they don't like the course because they have to write like 3 essays a week, or they don't like the campus because it has like 1,000 people and that's it, because the campus is the city. And so I think being really strategic and rational with actually looking into like what are the requirements for the course, what does it entail, what is the campus like, speaking to alumni and people studying there at the moment, and trying to use logic over emotion. I think that's really useful just so that you don't end up studying somewhere for 3 years where you don't enjoy it, or like dropping out and reapplying and going through everything again. Yeah, I mean, finally, I really do want to say a massive thank you to the whole team that helped me, because even though I'm not really in touch with them anymore, all of them did help me so much. And because I was working with them over the course of a whole year, sharing with them like my biggest worries, but also them guiding me through one of the most difficult periods in my life, I'm so grateful, because I don't think I would have ended up here if it wasn't for all of them and all of them working together and all of them really not just doing the job but trying their best to help me and wanting me to succeed truly. And so I hope they're all doing well. It's amazing that there's so many things to do and so many people to meet, but because it's such a big step up from school, it can be really overwhelming. And people expect university to be the time of your life for you to always be happy and like skipping around from joy. But there are days when you feel really lonely because, like, I don't know, your friend that like you thought was your friend didn't end up waiting for you after the lecture, or you feel like you're not doing enough even though you're doing, like, your time is filled, but there's always something more you can do. And just, I think, switching this mindset to appreciating what you have rather than focusing on what else you could be doing. So rather than thinking like, oh, I could have more friends, just focus on the ones that you have so far. Or I could be applying to this extra research project and I could be on this subcommittee. You can focus on all of the amazing things that you're doing already. And I think that that helps a lot to not be really anxious, really overwhelmed, and just help with the mental health a little bit, because uni does tend to be really intense sometimes. So I think it's important to have a good support system, but also be the support system for yourself as well.